Running to the bathroom. It must be serious. And then you said it is. What did you eat last night?
Well, I'm only one more tragedy or a stomach flu away from my goal weight, I think.
Well, it'll be great if it happens on the show because that's good radio podcasting stuff.
Total accident.
Just make that face and I'll know. I'll give play-by-play.
Go and turn myself inside out in the bathroom. An inverted glove. I was just not feeling very well.
This is Total Babble. Total Babble. It's a show about music, pop culture, social media, movies, the internet, relationships, TV, whatever. Total Babble. The Total Babble Podcast.
Hey, I'm Stu, and I enjoy the fact that I have a co-host that has a great amount of candidness about her, as you will hear from the pre-show stuff. A little bit of stomach issues, and you're dealing with that, and good for you for persevering.
Thank you. I appreciate it. You know, one of the things about being a woman that is this interesting conundrum is that you're supposed to maintain this decorum and things all of the time.
Not in my world.
Not in your world. But it's really interesting, like when you're raised or whatever. I have brothers. And so there's a huge difference between how funny a fart is if it's done by a boy versus how funny it is if it's done by a girl. And like there's things that you're allowed to talk about if you're a woman or things that you're not supposed to because it's sometimes like it ruins the illusion or something.
I would think in many instances a woman will fart and kind of cover her mouth and act a little bit embarrassed, and I think that should not be the case. I think everybody should just let them fly and it should be open to all.
Mm-hmm. Better out than in. But also I think it's important for women to talk about some natural, normal life things. And one of my illustrative points around this is the horror, the absolute fucking horror that is giving birth to a child. I feel like we spend so much time lying to people's faces. Like you see a pregnant lady and you're like, oh my God, this is going to be the best time of your life. Fucking lies. You're going to essentially push a watermelon out of a bong hose. It might rip you from asshole to breakfast. You won't be able to sit down. And then you're going to have, should you choose to, because of societal pressure or your own personal preferences, have this crotch goblin latch onto your chesticles and literally mash on them in a way that feels ungodly. And it's going to hurt. It hurts every time. It doesn't stop hurting. You just get used to it. And then the reality of the fact that not only does the crotch goblin latch on to your tatas, it sucks your nipple halfway down its gullet in order to deliver the milk. Like, have you ever seen a diagram of like how much breast tissue is gobbled up by a baby?
I can't say that I have, no.
Okay, well, this is your cue, everybody, right now.
It's not on my reader list.
While you're don't do it while you're driving. But go and look up an illustrated diagram of the palate of a baby breastfeeding. It will change your worldview. And so, like, nobody ever tells women about all of these sorts of things. So things like, hey, you should really wet some pads and freeze them in the freezer before you push a baby out of your vajayjay.
Okay, but you said vajayjay.
No?
That's weird slang right there, vajayjay. Oprah started it. I have an aversion to that one.
Did she?
Yeah, I think that's an Oprah thing, and I blame her for that. You can just say vagina. You can just say...
vagina.
Vag is a little bit coarse, but vagina is fine. But vajayjay is just like, ooh, I don't want to talk about it. I think we should go with clinical or vag.
Vag.
Preference. Okay. Just preference on my part.
We can't go for... I mean, there are so many different colloquial phrases
Yeah, but then
vagina.
We're just being exploitive.
You think so?
I think so.
I wonder, is there funny ones? Can I tell you a funny story?
Wait, okay, but it's like she's got an upset stomach and she's shot out of a cannon this morning. Let me also just say that you went through all of that about the bowling ball through the thing that I didn't recognize some of those colloquialisms, and then the latching on and the gulleting of the breast but Emily, it's the miracle of life.
It is.
That just sums it all up. It's the miracle of life. You should just go with it and be wonderful and accepting.
We'll be wonderful accepting. And that is it. Like, we use all of this language about how much of a miracle it is. And then we wonder why people are so ill prepared. Anyway, this is my short version of saying it's okay for people to be honest about illnesses and symptoms and difficult things that we go through. And in many ways, sharing is caring, because you can help prepare other people, or they can take better care of you. But I think we would all benefit from just being a little bit more upfront.
We should be more open, and part of the problems that we have in the splitting of society and the fact that we can't get along is that we're not open enough. So I agree with that. In accordance with that, I already had this ready to go all before you had your issues this morning, and you're being very upfront about them. I just wanted to share with everybody my favorite part of last week's show.
I want to see the glazed breasts of a 60-year-old man.
That is a wonderful time that we had last week, a wonderful moment, and I have that for any time we need it. I want to
see the glazed breasts of a 60-year-old man.
Even in context, it's kind of weird and kind of fun, and I love it.
I think that we should probably call some places with just snippets of crazy shit that I've said from the show. And you should use those in conversation. Hello, who is this? This is Emily from Total Babble. Yeah. How can we help you, Emily? I would like to see the glazed breasts of a 60-year-old man. I'm sorry, we can't help you with that. My dick, bitch.
That would be great. I love that idea. We'll have to figure out the phone thing. We still haven't figured out the phone thing because I would need to do a whole thing with routing. And I have looked at separate boxes to do that. And I can do it if it's us sitting around a mixer with microphones. But the fact that you're remote makes it more complicated. So I'm still working on that.
It does make it more complicated. That's why you have to have me pre-recorded. I don't even need to be here for that. You just play my voice, from out of context. Things.
But then I have to figure out the phone part. It can be done. It's just a matter of effort.
It's a matter of effort.
Speaking of the show in general and you, this came up. I was talking to somebody to be on the show, a Canadian ghost hunter. And he's a ghost hunter out of Ontario. And Canadians, they're way better than normal people. He really likes the show, loves you, said you sound like Hayley Atwell. And then I was like, yeah. I don't know Hayley Atwell, so I had to look her up, and I did. And she's like a Marvel superhero or something, I guess, and she's been in other things. And then I thought, well, you kind of sound similar, except she's British, you're Australian. I can see a little bit of the similarity there. And as far as people that deal with the court jester asshole part of this show, you are better at it than anybody else that has ever been. But I also think at some point you're going to get COVID again because you just have kids, or the new bird flu that's going to take out half the population again because we won't handle it responsibly. So I'm thinking if you're ever out, we just get Hayley Atwell to fill in.
I mean, why not? I'm sure she would be happy to take a break from her illustrious A-listing Hollywood career to come over and help us out.
Then I thought, though that's the case, I probably want to get an audition out of her because I want to see how it would go. And I'm thinking what we do now, Total Babble reverse audition. Ready?
Go for it.
All right. Total Babble reverse audition. This is Hayley Atwell, take one. I'm going to give you the line. You say the line in kind of a fun, energetic, conversational way, almost like you're on a chat show, as they would call them. Ready?
Go ahead.
Okay, your first line. I've done a few of them. They do feel like a blind date a little bit.
I've done a few of them. They do feel like a blind date a little bit.
I've done a few of them. They do feel like a blind date a little bit.
All right, that's pretty good. She's a little bit different register there, but I think she could work. You were kind of pimped out to me by your producer, and it's like, she looks so confused.
Oh, that's the line.
That's your line. You were kind of pimped out to me by your producer, and it's like,
You were kind of pimped out to me by your producer, and it's a little bit like...
You were kind of pimped out to me by your producer, and it's like...
Pretty good, kind of on target there. It's hard to get the energy that she was in the moment without knowing the moment, but this Hayley Atwell Total Babble reverse audition is going well. Last one, I know a few things about you. Your middle name is Christopher.
I know a few things about you. Your middle name's Christopher.
I know a few things about you. So
Yes.
your middle name is Christopher.
All right. I think it can work. I think Hayley Atwell, you have passed the audition. You can come do the show when Emily is sick. And I said before, she's British. So if we feel iffy about that, maybe we could get Margot Robbie.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
That would be amazing.
Can you contact the Australian network of famous people and get Margot Robbie on the show?
I will. I'm going to go downstairs. Yeah. I'm going to bang a postcard in the front pouch of a kangaroo and send it on its way. I'm just going to write Margot on the front because there's only one.
They all know. You just write Margot, and they know it's Margot at 1
Wallaby
Twigwick
Way.
Street.
Yeah,
Wallaby.
exactly.
Okay. I was going to say Twigwick, but yeah, I think you're right on that.
Yeah, definitely. She moved.
Jesus. Yes and is so overused, but this is such a fun yes and event that we always have going here on the show.
Honestly, this is, improv at its best.
Yeah.
Occasionally.
So I was looking at all that stuff, and then I was looking at other production and voiceover stuff, and I've been doing side work here and there, and I'm always looking to get more side work. And there's an online service where people go to find people to do production work and get stuff done, usually for about 1/10 of what it's worth. It pays nothing. And I saw a thing to record the entire King James Bible for $1,000. And that seemed a little bit low to me. That's a lot of work for $1,000. And I scoffed at it. But then I thought you could have fun with that. Like you could do a bunch of pages legit, and then you could just throw stuff in randomly that probably they wouldn't catch. Like you could be like, let him who hath come before me repent and say, fuck it all. And you could just throw little things in there like that, and then they would put that out. And I think that would be the best-selling Bible ever.
I will raise you one on that. The only time I'm ever listening to that, it's if it's an Eddie Izzard one-person show where they do all the voices.
I like it. Does Eddie Izzard do Bible stuff?
They do all the stuff. They have a one-person Hamlet show.
Ah, okay.
Yeah. I mean, they'd be up for it, I reckon.
So, yeah, I mean, if anybody was ever just willing to pay me $1,000 to read the entire Bible, it's not worth it for me just to read it, let alone have to do the voiceover for it. So I would have to have fun with it and have that fun at their expense because that's the right thing to do. That's what God would want.
God would not want me to read it. It's interesting. I think a lot of people think that narrating something would be easy.
No.
But it's very, very difficult when reading something to get the right inflection and emphasis. There's a joke about that.
Do you have an open window, or could you kill the bird that's in your room currently?
I do not have an open window. It's just a bird, and it's not even close to my house.
What the hell?
I don't know. It's maybe some sort of super bird.
Wow.
I would like to remind the listeners that spring has indeed sprung.
I hate spring.
As evident by the superbird.
Go get laid somewhere else, bird.
I don't know what its major malfunction is, so I do apologize.
All right. So all your windows are
bird.
closed right now.
Definitely.
Okay.
Why?
All right.
I have a couple of reasons. In the interest of full transparency, I am fucking allergic to where I live, and it is pollen season. This house is tighter than a nun's nasty. There is no pollen allowed to get inside here, and I wake up and mainline Zyrtec. I put it up my nose. I take a Claritin. Like, it is, I've got to get prepared. And so there's no way that there is an open window. I had to turn off my air filter. This makes me sound like I'm really mardy and should never go outside, but it's just I'm allergic to the state that I moved into. I've never, ever been allergic to anything in my entire life. Moved here, sick.
I blame the goddamn bird that won't shut up. That's what I blame.
I know, I'm so sorry. And it's almost like now that it knows, it's gotten worse. Now it's like it's stuck on a loop.
Yeah. I'm wondering if once I
stop.
do the processing, if this is going to even come out, but I'm hearing a bird right now. And maybe it's just us. Maybe we're crazy people. We'll see.
Maybe
We're both hearing a bird.
Maybe both of those things are true. Maybe we are both crazy people and there's a bird.
Very possible. It's amplifying. Anyway, I am just super bummed out that the world didn't end this week with the eclipse. All the kooks were saying the eclipse was going to be the rapture and the end of the world, and I planned on that. And I had like a 20-minute segment planned on the end of the world that we were going to do once the world ends. And what I'm left with this week is that Total Eclipse of the Heart is not a good song. So there's that part of it. And then I guess you went on a road trip or something to see the eclipse?
I absolutely did. I, on a whim, took our children to Dallas to witness totality. We were all sitting around on Saturday, and I said to the boys, hey guys, you know there's an eclipse on Monday. And the eldest was like, what kind, solar or lunar? I was like, good question. It's a total solar eclipse. And they were both like, oh, wow, that'd be so great. And I'd ordered eclipse glasses. I said, how good would it be to go and witness it? Because they were saying, have you ever seen an eclipse? I was like, no, I've never seen one. So one of the benefits of my husband Robert traveling so much is that he has what I can only imagine is a bazillion airline miles. And so you could not hire a car, but there were some flights left. So he booked us some flights to Dallas. We left our home at 5 a.m., drove to the airport, got to Dallas. We were there for 36 hours, and it was an absolute rip snorter. We had the best time. It was so fun, and we experienced lots of things. My kids had a bucket list. One, the eldest, wanted to eat weird meats. So we prioritized going to restaurants with interesting animals to eat on the menu.
Rattlesnake, alligator, that kind of thing?
Alligator, crawfish. We went to a Cajun restaurant with an open mic night, which was super amazing. The little one wanted to see some live music.
Based on the maturity level that you talk about your kids with, he probably wanted to go to a jazz club and hang out with the old black jazz man. Is that what happened?
That is exactly what happened. I am not shitting you. We actually went to the jazz club side of this restaurant, and there was a modern jazz band, and we watched them. It was great. It was really great.
That's fantastic.
And so we left before other people started to come out. I have a hard stop. Like we're not out after 9 p.m. We stayed out until about 8:30 at night, and it was still light at that time. And just as the sun started to go down, we hopped in an Uber, went back to our hotel.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I love stuff like that. Like, hey, we're just going to go 2 states away and do this. For people that don't know, based on where you are in the country, that's like 2 states away, basically?
Yeah, something like that. It's a 2.5-hour flight.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was
really
so
cool.
good. And it just feels so empowering. Now I feel incredibly fortunate that we're in a financial position to be able to do that. And it feels like a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity and a memory that we will absolutely treasure forever. It was really great.
Was Jesus at the eclipse? Did Jesus appear taking anyone with him? Did that happen?
No, but one of the things that I really feel like we need to do, and I've already put the date on the calendar, it's the Total Babble Rapture edition. And so the next time there's a total eclipse is going to be on the 2nd of August, 2027. just work with me here. We're going to go to Egypt because that's where totality is. We're going to get 100, 200-ish blow-up dolls and a couple of tanks of helium. Okay, go with me. Go with me. Right as totality starts to happen, we are going to release the helium-filled blow-up dolls that are just fully dressed, by the way. We're not obscene humans. And we're going to release them into the air to make it look like it's the Rapture.
I like it. What if we took it a step further and wait till they get 100 or so feet up in the air, and then we get giant lasers to shoot them and set them on fire as they're ascending just to freak people out? What do you think about that?
Much better. Much better.
We're working
Perfect.
together. This is a whole plan that we've come together. Okay, so this will happen in 2027 if I'm not dead yet. Odds are I'll be dead. I'm just saying, but we'll see. I like it a lot.
Yeah, I think this could be good. I'll be disappointed if you fall off the twig before that.
Love the twig thing so much. Fell off the twig. That means died for everybody out there.
Yeah, it means died. Well, and the reference is a bird. Ever seen a bird die?
Not enough lately with spring.
You're like, not enough. It's the only way I can get aroused.
So often. But yeah, the end was supposed to come, and there was supposed to be Jesus and the rapture. And I have decided now that all those social media posts where people were saying that this was the rapture and this is the end and Jesus is coming and the earth was ending, I am just going to start going to those posts, and I'm going to put up this Steve Martin bit.
The public has a short memory. It's true. It's true. Let me give you a test. How many people remember a couple of years ago when the earth blew up? See, so few people remember that. And you would think that something like that people would remember, but no. You don't remember that? The earth blew up and was completely destroyed? And we escaped to this planet on the giant space ark? And the government decided not to tell the stupider people because they thought it might...
See, but the problem is a lot of those people, even at that point after posting that, might not even get it. So you'd have to battle that and battle all the stupidity as we do.
There is a lot of dum-dums.
Speaking of which, this just in as we're going to do the show. If the coffin don't fit, you must quit. O.J. Simpson just died. Couldn't happen to a more deserving person. I'm loving this and enjoying this. And good for him. Way to go, O.J. Way to go, Juice. It's going to be interesting to see the obituaries in the news reports because they're always so positive when people die, even for bad people. And maybe it'll be like, he nearly beheaded his wife, and he was a great, great athlete. And I wonder if they'll play it that way or how that will work out,
I'll be interested to know. Did you know, and you would because you work in the media, but most obituaries for famous people have already been written.
They have them ready to go.
They have them ready to go.
Yeah. And they met probably years ago about OJ, and they're like, how are we going to handle this? Oh, geez, I don't know, because, we want to pay tribute. You want to pay tribute to everyone, because when somebody dies, they're still a great person. That's the way things go, and I kind of don't adhere to that.
Yeah, I agree. He died of cancer.
Prostate cancer, which is good. It kind of means that probably he suffered a little bit. I think that's fair. I think that is a good way to go for OJ. It's what I would want for him.
It's really interesting. Like were his kids from the wife that he killed?
I haven't kept track of the kids. I kind of think that maybe they knew something was up but didn't really want to accept it. I think that's been in question a few times. That's gone back and forth. It's all just such a terrible, bizarre story, and yuck. The fact that he got off is still just a bothersome thing,
Well, because he had 2 kids. I think he's got 5 kids, but she was killed nearly 30 years ago, right? And they had 2 kids together. And I just wonder, if your father was accused of killing your mother, would you stay in contact with him? Would you?
Maybe he somehow sold it so well that they believed him. I find that hard to believe with all of that evidence. Like, does the entire world just accept the fact that your dad killed your mom, and you just blow that off and go with what he tells you?
Yeah, because an acquittal doesn't mean that they're not guilty. It just means that they didn't have enough to find you guilty.
Right. It just means that the prosecuting attorney were bumbling around and fucked it all up is what it means in this case.
And the thing that I don't understand about these big high-profile cases, every day in this country, people are sent to prison for way lesser crimes or for big crimes with way less evidence.
Yeah.
But not this guy.
I think it's because they are high-profile crimes and they're really scrutinized and they are so making an effort to be fair that they're overly fair and give somebody the opportunity to get off in a lot of cases. And I think that's probably what happened here. That and what I remember from watching the docuseries is that, yeah, the prosecuting attorneys really fucked things up.
How'd you be if that was your legacy? I was the guy who fucked up the prosecution of O.J. Simpson.
Yeah, you don't hear that much about those people these days. So, yes, O.J. has left us. And at this point, I'd like to say a little prayer. O Lord, who does art in heaven, we're off to a good start. Please remove Trump from us. Please remove Trump, something painful and lingering. And when I say lingering, just for a couple weeks of lingering pain when you take Trump for us. We have made great strides with this removal of OJ. Now the big T, let's go. Amen, and hallowed be thy name and all that shit.
Oh, man. There's something wrong with me because I cannot wish something ill on someone no matter how much I don't like them. I feel like it's such bad juju to wish ill, or death or pain or suffering onto somebody else.
There's a lot of people like you. I understand. I'm just not one of them.
Oh, fair enough.
Is there anything to the fact that maybe you feel like you have loftier powers than you do? Because I feel like I can wish bad stuff on Trump and OJ, and who cares? Who am I? I'm not anybody really big. I don't have supernatural powers. You're thinking it's just bad to put it out in the universe, maybe?
Yeah, I just feel like it's bad to put it out in the universe.
All right. Because what I have going on with the universe maybe plays to that. Maybe you're right. I feel like I battle the universe constantly, and maybe it's because I wish for the death of OJ. Maybe that's my issue. Maybe.
Have you seen that experiment about saying negative things to plants?
No.
They
get pissed off and try to eat you?
No, there's been throughout modern history, there have been a number of scientific studies to study the impact of negative words, negative energy, and that kind of thing. And they use plants or rice as an example. And so,
Wait, there's people sitting around talking to rice?
Yeah, okay. I know
You're
it sounds
bad
really,
kernel.
really...
You suck. Of all the kernels on the planet, you suck. You're terrible. I like a nice long grain. Fuck you.
Yeah, exactly. Fuck you. Basmati my ass. Yeah, exactly. But, okay, so this is my point. They've done it with rice and they've done it with plants. And there are a variety of these studies. You can look them up online. IKEA did one in 2018 as some sort of publicity stunt. But these scientific experiments have shown that the plants that are bullied don't do as well. So they control all the other things. So if you come up and you're like, you're the shittiest fucking plant that ever planted, you can't even generate chlorophyll, you absolute bag of dicks. Like, whatever. Like, you just tell all of these horrible things to the plants. I hate you.
Right.
And that plant doesn't thrive.
I wonder, though, if it's the words or if it's the vibration and inflection of the words. Like if you were really smiley, like you would do with a dog and say, you're a real piece of shit and a motherfucker and I hate you. Like if you did it like that, I wonder how it would be. And I wonder if they've experimented with the tone because maybe they're more susceptible to lower register vibrations, like if you were angry. I wonder if that's a thing.
I mean, definitely. There was also another one, though, where they negatively charged the water and then poured the water onto the plants, and the negatively charged water killed the plant, but then the other one didn't.
I think I heard something about water really changes composition when it's around bad energy or something. I remember something about that. I'm not scoffing at it. I just don't know how much of it I believe in, and I could find a video on that, I'm sure, somewhere.
I mean, let's be super clear. This is bad science. It's an interesting talking point, but I'm sure that if we scratched below the surface, it'll be like that whole correlation does not equal causality. Like the bigger the hole in the ozone layer gets, the less pirates there are. It's got nothing to do with each other, but they have a positive correlation or whatever. But these experiments, traditionally, there's no control. So there's not one water that's just like nothing water. There's the happy water and the negative water, and lo and behold, negative water bad. It's a tiny little sample size. There's 2 plants. I don't know if you've ever tried to grow a plant, but I have many times, and it's a crapshoot.
Yeah.
Like those things die half the time. So it's not like it has to be statistically significant. I want to see at least 100 plants for each team. Team bullied, team loved on.
Let's get a sample size.
Yeah, exactly. And then there's experimenter bias, right? So each of these things is run by somebody who's got a bone to pick or who wants to prove things. Like it's some 3rd grade teacher somewhere who's like, and I want to prove that kindness is a superpower.
Are you doing an experiment to prove a point, or are you just doing an experiment?
Exactly.
Right.
And is it a publicity stunt? Is it that? And therefore, have you injected bias into this? Anyway, all of that to say, I really like the idea, and I openly talk to this sort of stuff with my kids, but it's bad science. Most of it's bad science. It's just nice clickbaity, feel-good stuff.
Yeah, and I do enjoy being bright and shiny around people when it's appropriate. I just have no problems about saying that OJ's a piece of shit. If I go out and yesterday there was some lady that was really nice at some retail establishment, and we just had a really good interaction, and it was friendly, and hey, thanks a lot, and I felt good about it. And it's like, okay, cool. This doesn't happen that often because so often people are just shitty about their jobs and don't care about anything. And it was just her demeanor, and it was like, okay, I'm going to match your demeanor, and I'm good with you. I don't find usually, and maybe I'm wrong, you can disagree with this, we're tangenting, but I love a good tangent. I don't find that if somebody is in a shit mood and you try to meet them with warmth and positivity in that situation, that it usually works. Maybe that's my skill. Maybe I'm not as good at that, but I think I am. And it's like somebody's just gruff and you're like, okay, have a nice day. Usually it's like, And it's, okay, I'm going to match you, whatever you do, and we'll just go with that because it doesn't matter. Maybe it does. Maybe the plants will grow more.
I don't know about I do get the vibe of like matching people's energy. For the most time, I won't even try to match them. I'll just sort of be myself. But I can really annoy the shit out of somebody who's already annoyed just with my gross positivity. Some may call it toxic. Like just that I'm just so into life and what's happening, and I'm just so happy to be wherever I am, that the people who are not, they're annoyed.
When you do that, is that being sincere, or are you kind of playing it up to be annoying?
No, it's just how I roll.
Okay.
I'm not doing it to annoy somebody else or whatever. It's just how I'm rolling. I have had some occasions in life though where, like a server seems to be having a really shitty day and is in a really bad mood or anything, and I've asked them about it. And I've just gone, hey, you seem to be having a bit of a tough day. Are you all right? They're not expecting it. And then sometimes they'll either be like, oh, actually, yeah, I'm having a really tough day. Thanks for asking. And then they'll change their attitude. Or they'll be like, no, I'm fine, or whatever. But I have had a couple of times where I've asked somebody and just looked at them, given a bit of time, and then they realize, one, it's a subtle message of, quick question, what the fuck is wrong with you?
I was just about to ask about that.
And then two, they feel seen and cared about, because, a lot of people, my general philosophy is, they're not giving me a hard time. They're having a hard time. And, a lot of people are walking around in the world, and they're thinking about what they're going through and all that kind of stuff. They're not deliberately trying to make my life hell. They don't know me. They don't care about me. So there must be something happening with them. So I try to bring that vibe to the situation, and that can often diffuse it. Because the other thing too is, like, if I'm at a restaurant, I don't want their negative shitty day to rub off on me and my family. So I'd rather try and, massage the situation.
And you just said restaurant there, so I can go off on another tangent. I'll go off on this. I am bothered now, and it's part of my not even a little bit of the tip program, that we have a new law in California that fast food workers have to be paid a livable wage. Amazing that we need a law to do that. But they now have to be paid like minimally like $20 an hour or something like that. But I am bothered by the fact that restaurants are using it as an excuse to raise prices even more. And that's part of greedflation. I listened to a whole podcast last night about defining greedflation and the fact that companies raised prices during COVID because they could, but now it's just the norm because they're trying to make more money, and it's complete greed, and they're manipulating things that way. So all these fast food restaurants are raising their prices and firing people, and I'm really bothered by the fact that they're doing this. And when you go to pay, there's still the option where they expect a tip for picking up fast food. And it's like, okay, how much do you want from me? I already decided I'm not giving you a tip on a fast food bag pickup where you hand me a bag. You're raising the prices because you need to pay your people more, which shouldn't be my responsibility. And you still want me to tip them. And it's been brought out that a lot of times most of or part of that tip goes to the restaurant and not even the workers. So screw all of you.
I would like to see a world where everyone gets paid a livable wage and that we don't need the tip. No tip.
Agree.
That's better. Choose one or the other. I am all for, and again, feel free to disagree with me, but for things like restaurants and with inflation, food is increasing in price. It still has continued. We are suffering above average inflation in this country consistently.
And it seems like that's because we've created it. That's my frustration. We've created it because of greed, it seems like. Or am I not looking at that right?
I don't know. I think it's certainly more complicated. It's not as straightforward as you and I might think, but dialing into your greedflation thing, on one hand, retail establishments that keep, getting rid of workers, making us do the self-checkout and everything, but then charge more and more money and then not paying their staff or that kind of stuff, that annoys the shit out of me. On the restaurant side, if they're paying a living wage, I'm happy to pay more, but I'm probably not going to pay as much in a tip. I don't like that they're doing both of those things. I would prefer it if they just did the first one. But it becomes confusing then because not everyone is doing it.
Right. There ought to be laws in place, but then you get into a thing of, well, okay, how much is the government going to control and how much should they control and how much should they have the ability to control,
Yeah, I went to a restaurant the other week and I can't remember where it was, but there was a little sign up that says, we pay all of our people a living wage. A tip is not expected, but it is appreciated. But they didn't have the give us a tip thing.
That's good. And to me, I'm kind of okay with tipping for a server that's coming to my table waiting on me because that at least is the tradition in this society. Maybe we could even do away with that, but I'm not willing to tip a guy at McDonald's to hand me a bag of food. Not that I would ever eat at McDonald's.
Yeah, I agree. It's like, I went somewhere the other week and this was really weird. And I tried to make a note of it for the show, but it's since fallen out of my brain. But it was some sort of commodity purchase thing, like a store. And they asked if I wanted to give a tip for like buying shoes or something.
How do you define want? Do I want to give you a tip? I don't know.
Yeah. Do I want to? Uncategorically, no. Yeah. I do not want to give you a tip for all of the things that I did myself. It was something innocuous like buying shoes or buying a book or something like that. It was really weird and out of context on like, why the fuck would I be giving a tip for this?
Right. That's the way I feel when I go and I pick up a to-go order for a fried cauliflower sandwich and they hand me the bag. I just gave you $3 to hand me that bag. That is ridiculous. It's like, what?
Yeah, it's outrageous.
Anyway, if anybody wants to hear that podcast, it's something about greedflation, and it's the Stuff You Should Know podcast. Pretty interesting. I was trying to listen to it last night when I was trying to get to sleep, which I didn't have that much luck with, but interesting stuff there. We'll go to this controversy over a billboard on the freeway in Coachella. You know, they have that music festival out there in Coachella.
I nearly went once. Never been.
It's a big thing, and I could never want to go. It just too many people and too much dirt. And I used to do radio out there, and I like it. You drive through it and you go, there's just so much dirt, and I don't want to be here for too long, is kind of how you feel, you know?
Hot, dusty, and full of fucking poses. No
fucking poses. We don't want poses.
No.
Yeah. So somebody put up a billboard, and here is the news story.
We'll begin this week off with a bang. Well, certainly one billboard here in the Coachella Valley has caused it. If you've been on the I-10, maybe you've seen it. The AIDS Healthcare Foundation put up this Coachella-themed billboard last Tuesday. Catch more than vibes? Well, if you did, they want you to know they offer free STD testing services. It's supposed to stay up through the festival weeks. However, the organizers for Coachella are demanding they take it down now. Officials with AHF say it doesn't help to pretend people aren't having sex. And if it's not safe sex, we want them to know where they can get STD tested easily and for free.
So these people that put on Coachella and Stagecoach are so upset about this billboard that has nothing to do with their event. It doesn't have their logo. It doesn't even reference the event. And they're telling the people at the AIDS Healthcare Foundation that they are going to sue them unless they take it down. And so far, it's good. The AHF has been like, go ahead, what are you going to sue us for? And these are the same people that are against sex education in schools. Or, I guess this is kind of my question, is that the case? Or are they so worried about the reputation of the festivals they hold out there that they're just so hypersensitive to it? In either way, I feel like they need to shut the fuck up.
Agreed. This is great marketing. They are targeting the right market in terms of the age and the demographic.
Yep.
It is the proximity to where someone's likely to get infected with an STD. Some sort of multi-day music festival where people are getting loose and crazy and acting on their worst behavior. Ding, ding, ding. Genius marketing as far as I'm concerned. Coachella, shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
It's
You're
ridiculous.
giving yourself way more of a reputation by saying anything than if you just shut up, because it's not even like at the event. It's on the freeway leaving the event. It doesn't reference the event, and it literally just says, catch more than vibes, free stdcheck.org. That's all it says.
Yeah, I mean, remember at the height of the AIDS epidemic, you know, all of the posters and everything in all of the clubs, it was always like, if it's not on, it's not on. And I really felt like the scene lent into it. And people were like, hey, let's protect each other. It was this awareness campaign. And given just the repressive, weirdo nature of the United States, did you know that AIDS is on the rise again? Because we've stopped doing sex education. Well, also because of the availability of PrEP, people feel like they're immune.
I'm sure we've lowered funds for AIDS over the years because it's not the popular disease now.
Right.
Yeah.
But, you know, a lot of STDs, things like chlamydia, gonorrhea, all of these sorts of things are on the rise because of lack of awareness around those things. Young people don't use protection. And I think for older people, we're like, are you kidding? Like, they're not afraid of catching STDs. So there's a lot of STD action happening out there. I feel like Coachella could have done this way differently and maybe really lent into it instead. And they're making themselves look like absolute asshats by making a big deal of it.
It feels like they have a very conservative maybe board of directors that doesn't want to have anything to do with it and is very concerned about the perception of their shows because they have Coachella and I think they have the Stagecoach Festival out there, which is the big country festival. And, you know, a lot of those right-wing conservative people, they don't want to hear anything about that AIDS. And a lot of this too feels like in society, oh, this isn't the big focus lately because AIDS used to be a complete death sentence, and that is less the case now. It's still very serious, as I understand it, but it's not the big death sentence. And oh my God, you get it from having sex, so we don't want to focus on that. We never ever want to point attention out to that because we're uptight and don't want to talk about it. And we've also had this other big disease for 3 years that got the focus. So now we're going to really have the focus on that. And we don't want to have anything else to do with anything. And we'll just pretend that everything is squeaky clean and neat and not have to worry about it.
Yeah, it's ridiculous because have the people ever gone to their own festivals? The amount of public sexual behavior that happens at these sorts of things is off the chain. And there's not, I mean, it's ridiculous. They should just lean into it. And even people who are conservative still get STD tests. This is a public service announcement. And I think they're a not-for-profit as well.
Yeah.
It's not even
It's a .org, so yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. All of this ought to
Ridiculous.
just be part of general public health care. You know, it ought to be the same as I've got a bad cough. Let's go get this checked out.
Yeah. Watch them change their tune completely if Pfizer was to come in and offer them a huge amount of money to sponsor the festival for some sort of breakthrough new STD dick swizzle stick that you could put down the eye of your penis and get a rapid STD test.
You say that like that's an easy process, though. You say that like, oh, just do that. I don't think you have a concept of how that goes necessarily.
I just was going for what's something really horrific.
Okay.
You know, some sort of just really gross, weird thing. But I feel like if they did that, all of a sudden they'd change their tune. There'd be advertising everywhere. It'd be like dip your stick at Coachella. Ooh. You know, all they need to do is drop a few $1 million. And
I like that marketing plan.
Yeah.
And also when you were talking about the public sex there in my head, and I almost feel like you were going to go with, I don't think they understand all the public bonkery that's going on. I heard you say public bonkery in my head, and I think that's a fun way to go.
Yeah. It would be a fun way to go. I'm sure some people will die like that at Coachella.
You know about all the public bonkery that's happening.
Public bunking. Yeah, it's true.
All righty. Well, I can end it there. I'm good with ending it there. There's not that much in the news to talk about. And show done.
Boink.
But see, now it feels incomplete. It feels like we didn't really wind down, like I just abruptly stopped the show. I'm so good at a lot of this, but ending the show, I'm not great at a lot of times. Because I felt like the show done right there wasn't quite satisfactory. What else you got? Something brilliant to take us out.
Something brilliant to take us out.
Public bonkery.
Public bonkery. You know, maybe we could do some sort of teasing of like what's going to happen on the next show. You know, next week, Boats and Hoes at the Catalina Wine Mixer. You know, like let's do some sort of promo.
The issue is that I always have tons of stuff that isn't really topical news stories. It's maybe stuff from other weeks that we never get to, and I have it standing by. But then something happens with your stomach, and we can do 20 minutes on that. Like, have you DNA'd your dog, especially the damaged one? We have that in this news story about the DNA and the genetics of dogs and that kind of thing. Don't know if we'll get to it, but it's a possibility. Maybe somebody good will die next week, and we won't even get to that. We'll spend 20 minutes thanking God for OJ and somebody else. Who knows? Or I will.
Who knows? I think you're going to be keeping your fingers crossed that it's Lord Emperor Trump. But the, you know, somebody who has that thing that they end on, I think it's Jimmy Kimmel. Is he the one who's always like, and apologies to Matt Damon?
Yeah.
We ran out of time tonight.
Yeah.
Yeah, we need our apologies to Matt Damon situation.
Something.
Something.
All right, well, that felt like a little bit more. Now I'm going to say show done.
Show done. Have the day you deserve, and I'll see you next week.
Always a good one.
Okay, you know how this goes. Like us, subscribe, tell your friends, write a nice review, engage with us. We're Total Babble on Instagram, on Facebook, on TikTok, on Threads. Email is show@totalbabble.com. The Total Babble Podcast.